Hey folks, this is going to be a three-part series of videos about cutting thin strips on a table saw. The first video is going to be 15 minutes long, and this same introduction will occur in front of all of them just to kind of explain the three parts. But the first video is 15 minutes long, and it's going to be about methods that I've tried before but have some sort of problems in one way or another. By the way, there's an exciting occurrence in this first video that's worthy of some instant replays, and so you want to be sure to pay attention to those. The second video is going to be 19 minutes long, and it shows me building the half fence thin strip ripping jig. And this particular solution satisfies all three problems: safety, reliability, and being able to do very thin strips, a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch, or even narrower in that regard. 1/8 of an inch and larger, you really don't need this particular jig. You can do some other things with it. The third part is 14 minutes long, and it demonstrates actually using the half fence method. Since we built it in the second video, we show you how it's used in the third video. And also in the third video, we're going to make a bent lamination out of a number of these thin strips that we make, and see what we do with that. I hope you enjoyed the series, and God bless you.
We're talking about these wedges. Let me fold this up and get rid of that. These wedges are an important piece of this half fence method, because what this wedge is going to do is it's going to get glued right to that riving knife. And this is a riving knife. You can see what it is. What it does is it prevents kickback, because it keeps wood from kind of, that's been cut already, from closing in on itself because of the tensions built into the wood itself. And if it was to close in on that blade would grab it and throw it back towards you. So this riving knife keeps that kerf of the cut separated by the same thickness as the blade. What this is going to do is it's going to glue right here to the edge of that riving knife with some super glue or cyanoacrylate, and it's going to cause this piece that comes off the other piece to ride up that ramp, and it'll be in tension about like this, and it'll hold the other piece of wood next to that riving knife. So we'll keep all our pressure on this part of the fence the whole way as we're cutting through this thing. And when we get all the way up here, once we get, and so this piece is going to be maybe this wide. Once we get up here, once I get past this point on the knife, I can stop. Let go of that piece. That piece will fall off. I can turn the saw off, pick it up and move it. Or I can just slide this piece away if it's large enough and safe enough to handle. Bring it back around here and cut a second piece, a third piece, a fourth piece. And never have to move this fence anymore, because it's going to be measured right here. Now that's about 1/4 of an inch. That's not what we want. So these are the setup blocks that I use. You can see I've got a 3/4 inch right here, going all the way down, 5/16 of an inch right here. Here's the 1/4 inch. That 1/4 inch is probably fairly close to going in there. It didn't. But what I'm interested in is a 1/16 of an inch. This thing goes all the way down to a 1/16 and a 32nd of an inch. And so that's how thin a 32nd of an inch is on that. And I don't know that I can do a 64th, because I do have a setup block that I made myself. This is a 64th. But we're going to do this 1/16 of an inch. So I'll pull this 1/16 of an inch out, and I'm going to set it down next to this fence. And I'm going, let me make sure this is recording. Yeah. And that one, yes. Okay. I'm going to set it down next to this fence, and notice that because of the fence where it is, I can pull this over next to that blade. And that blade, I want this to be able to move, touch the blade, but still be able to move easily enough. So as I bring this close, it hits that tooth and stops. So that means it needs to come over a little bit so that it goes past that tooth, but no wiggle. It don't want any wiggle. Right now it's got some wiggle, so I can come over. Yep, that looks just about perfect. All right, you hear it rubbing against the against that, but it's still able to move, so that's perfect. So I'm going to lock the fence, take this out of here, and then I'll set this to the side, and we'll use this as a gauge to make sure we've done the first cut correctly. So here's the piece that we're going to cut some strips off of. No, not that one. We'll use this one right here because we've already cut one edge of it right here. So this is going to go up against this part of the fence. And notice that because of this low part, I was able to grab this setup block and move it right. If I had used it just here, it would have been too tall for me to get my fingers in there. So this will work just right. And as this cuts, now what I'm going to do is first cut, I'm going to push. Oh, I forgot to glue the wedge on here. So let me show you how that wedge works. Here's my pencil. I want this wedge to come all the way back into the teeth of this saw. So I'm going to draw a curve against the riving knife to see where it comes to. So you can see the riving knife is all right here. This is where I want to put my super glue. So I take my super glue, and this is thick super glue. I put one drop right there. That'll be enough to hold it. Put the cap back on and grab the activator right here. Spray the riving knife with the activator. And then take this and carefully make sure that I'm lined up with where I want to be, and press it up against there. Hold it tight for about 10 seconds. And it will be rock solid on there. Now, super glue is brittle, so it's easy to break off, but I will have to chisel the edge of the riving knife to make it clean. So you can see now that that riving knife, as this is coming through here, it will bend up with that riving knife. And by doing that, I'm going to stop this halfway through. So let me start cutting this. I won't speak until after I get to the point where I can turn the saw off again. So it saws on. Okay, looking at what's going on here. You see how this fence is nice and even up against here, and it's also against this riving knife right here. But the strip has gone up the ramp, or up the wedge right here, and pulled away. So this thing, if I try to move it left, I can force it to move, but it doesn't want to. It wants to stay right there against that riving knife. So that means I can press this all the way up to this point. Once it gets past here, I can let go, turn the saw off, grab my strip out, and go from there. Or I can leave my saw on and just pull this out of the way and run another cut, and just keep letting them fall off to the side as they go through there. So I'm going to hold this steady, turn the saw back on, and finish this cut. So you see how that thin strip fell off away from that blade. It did leave a little bit right there where it didn't get cut, but I can just easily break that off and do that. Now here's the real test. If I hold the gauge down on the table, I cannot feel any difference right there. It's exactly 1/16 of an inch in thickness. So that's what I want. Let's cut a second one and show you how that works on the second one and go from there. And that's how you can cut a bunch of strips. Okay, folks.
Okay, here's how we can remove this wedge from the riving knife right here. It's just, remember, it's just super glued on with 1 drop of super glue. So I'm going to press against this pretty hard and it'll just break loose like that. You can see the evidence of the glue on there. I can reuse this. I'll just sand that extra glue off. And you see on the riving knife, that glue still remains. Now I've got a real old chisel that I don't even sharpen very much at all, but I just use it as a scraper to kind of get things off like this. And you see all that super glue comes off pretty easily. Let me raise the blade up a little bit, make sure we've got all of it. And there it is. So this riving knife is good as new, ready to go.
Folks, I'm going to show you how to do the bent lamination that I promised at the beginning of the video, and then we'll be done with this video. Okay, folks. By the way, here's that piece that I glued up. It's ready to go. It's solid as it can be. And all I need to do is drill a hole into this piece to accept this bench dog clamp. And I'm going to put it back around right here. So I'll put the hole right there. I'll use my, let me tell you how I measure it. So I take my calipers right here. And I think with the top camera, yeah, you might be able to see this. I'll take the calipers and measure them, and it's just a 64th over 5/16. So I'm going to take this drill bit. This drill bit came from 1/64th over 5/16. So that might be a little bit tight. I'm going to go 1 more 64th, so it's 11 32nds instead of 21 64ths. So I'll use this drill bit. That'll make it a little bit looser. And tighten it up in the chuck on this drill. Now I want it to go straight down, so I need a jig to do that. I could use my drill press, but I do have a jig here. And if I look on this jig, there's 15/16 and 21 64ths. Is that what I got? No, 11/32. So 11/32 is this third hole from the big one over here. So I'm going to put that about right here. Now this will keep that drill bit straight. Put it right here in the center of that piece of wood. That drill bit straight. I hold this down tight. And I go down pretty deep because I want that to go down there. So there it is. It goes down there, and we can use this now. So that's how that works. Now I did promise that I'd show you how we built this this bent laminate jig. So here's laminations: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different laminations. And so the total thickness of this is right just a tad over a 1/2 inch, or maybe a 32nd over a 1/2 inch. And if it was perfectly accurate, it would have been a 1/2 inch. 8 times 16 would have made a 1/2 inch. But anyway, so I will need to glue this up. I'm not going to do that right now, but I'll show you sometime later after I glue it up. So I'll line all these up, and now as I push, it ought to do just fine. So from the top, you can see how this is coming together like that. And once I put glue in there, it'll all be together. And when it dries, it'll just be a nice curved piece of wood. Here's an example of one that I did a while back. A nice little bow, a bow and arrow or whatever. It's all one piece. I mean, it's actually 2 pieces I glued up. It was a 1/4 inch thick that I glued together. I had to actually wet that wood to get it to work. But this I don't have to wet because it's 1/16 of an inch, and once it's together, it'll look good. I'll glue it up a little bit later. And thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you later.
Hey folks, one more thing I forgot that I would tell you. What we did with after I glued up the bent lamination, what I did with it. This is what I came up with. It's a little coat hanger or a dress hanger. It's just the size perfect for a little small 1-year-old. And we've got a little granddaughter coming, and maybe she can use this for one of her favorite dresses that she wears. But anyway, so there's the bent lamination, and you can see, I think, yeah, you can see fairly close up the way it's bent like that. All those different laminations, 8 different laminations. And if you look on the end, you can see all the little square pieces that come out of it, because it's got laminations this way, which is the original plywood laminations, and then laminations this way, which is the laminations we added. And I just stuck this little coat hanger in there so it would be like that. And I've already tested it on a dress that my wife just bought recently, and it looks great. It works fine. So we'll talk to you later. All right, that's the end of part 3 and the end of this series. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe and click like and click the bell too to be notified, so that when we get new videos, you'll get that notice. And so thank you, and God bless you. See you later, folks.